Hello again. I spoke the other day about the tendency of the BBC to try and have as few white actors as possible in dramas which they broadcast. Several people commenting here remarked that the series at which I was looking, Vigil, was after all fiction. This is indeed a fair point, but it's not an accusation which can be levelled against the news bulletins which appear every evening on BBC One at 6 o'clock. Like many, perhaps most people these days, I tend to get most of my news from the internet rather than turning on the television and watching the news. Truth to tell, before yesterday evening, it must be something like 6 months since I've watched the news on television. But I thought it might be worth seeing the coverage of the attack in Kabul, and so I tuned in. The thing which stands out most when watching the BBC News is that they do not apparently employ white British people anymore. This is more than a little odd in a country in which 85% of the population is white. I jotted down a few notes during the bulletin just to refresh my memory later. The first person to appear was a man called Clive Murray, who comes from a Jamaican family. Then the local news headlines were read out by somebody called Asad Ahmed. Reports were received from BBC correspondents in Afghanistan and Washington as well. In Afghanistan there were two correspondents, one called Secunda Kamani, who is of Pakistani heritage, and the other Lisa Duchet, who is a Canadian woman. Then we went to Washington, where the BBC correspondent is called Ali Mahbul. His family are also from Pakistan. Not one white British person was to be seen. Not one out of 5 presenters and correspondents. I find this simply extraordinary. Watching that news broadcast, it would have been quite impossible to guess that it was from a European country, one where 85% of the population are white. It was as though a conscious decision had been made to ensure that no white British people should be seen as representing the BBC. Still, perhaps I'm being a little parochial here. It could well be the case that other countries are also eager to play down their country's ethnic origins. Perhaps the NTA, Nigerian Television Authority, their national broadcaster adopts a similar policy. Maybe they say, aha, we live in a global world now with no ethnicity being more important than another. We celebrate diversity. Could it be that Nigerian news bulletins are full of Pakistanis, white people and others of Chinese origin? I watched a few news programmes on YouTube from Nigeria. If you try searching on YouTube for Nigerian News NTA, I have to tell you I was shocked and dismayed to see that only black Africans feature on this news channel. Not a single presenter who was not black. Terrible lack of diversity there. I will leave it to viewers to have a look also at news bulletins from countries such as Saudi Arabia, Japan and India to see how much they value inclusivity and diversity. The BBC no longer represents Britain. Its view of the world, whether in terms of fictional productions or news bulletins, is partial and prejudiced in favour of a particular worldview. There is no longer the least pretence about this. It's plainly there for all to see.